Okay, so in this video, we are going to go through all the books that I read in February, which is going to be a pretty big stack. This month I read 9 books, which is quite a bit, and I think as far as total pages read, that might be the most I've read in a single month. I'm not sure why it was so good. I could not stop reading. Okay, but let's start off with Stephen King novels because those I have been working on since this fall with my husband to finish, and we finally read the last book, The Dark Tower. And I'm just gonna talk about these as like a full set instead of going through them individually because I don't want to give anything away, and I feel like mostly what I have to say is about the ending, which I actually really did not like the way this series ended. I thought the last book was really good and um, full of lots of adventures, like most of the other books in the series, but I was not expecting that ending. It was a letdown from what I thought it would be. I don't know. I did not expect it to end that way. Um, and this is probably the only book that has made me cry that I did not give an automatic 5-star, and that's because the ending, I was just pretty upset by that. I think he could have written it in so many different ways. The way I thought it was going to end was that the main character, Roland, the gunslinger, was going to pass down his knowledge and um, his role as being the last gunslinger to one of his, I'm going to call it disciples, but it's one of the other people in his quartet, and I thought one of them was going to take over and become like the next generation's gunslinger, but that did not happen at all. Um, the other thing about this one, I feel like there were a lot of loose ends that didn't get wrapped up. There was just so much going on in this whole series, and there are a lot of villains that come after this group, and they all kind of meet quick deaths or quick exits through the book. And so you don't really get any of their backstory. You don't get any um, any real closure, or like you don't really like the the whole point of this book series is Roland, the last gunslinger, wants to get to this tower and get in the tower. And he tells you that from the beginning. And so all of these people come through and then just kind of like filter out really quickly. So that was kind of interesting, but um, everyone's just kind of a side character. Even who you think is going to be like the villain that he's going to have like a last battle with doesn't really happen. So it was interesting. Um, Stephen King in the end of this book, in the epilogue, even says like stop reading because if you read farther you are not going to like the ending, and that was very true. um but yeah, not super happy with this. I still really enjoyed the story. I just don't like the ending, and I think he has at least one, maybe two extra stories within this world about Roland in his younger days, so I might read those once my frustration has wavered a little. But yeah, not too happy about that one. Otherwise, though, the other books that I read were really, really good. The first one that I read for the month was this Secret Service of Tea and Treason. It is the third book in this Dangerous Damsel series by India Holton, and I loved it. I wish, though, that I had known that it was part of a series when I started reading it, because having it being at the end of the series, it talks a lot about the characters and like subplots in the other two books, and I just didn't get those references. So I gave it a 4-star, and that was my fault because it should have deserved a 5-star. Had I read the other two books, I would have been more I would have been more invested in this one. But really cute, really ridiculous. It's about Secret Service agents that are trying to infiltrate this band of pirates, and there's witches, and there's these flying houses and conga lines of pirates, and just super ridiculous, super just fun and whimsical. I did just get the first book in the series, so I'm going to start that at some point this spring, but I loved it. And also, the author does say that she wrote both of the um, main female and male characters as autistic. It's not stated in this book. It's set in like Victorian England, and so that wasn't a thing back then. I mean, it was, but people didn't know it was an actual diagnosis back then. But I was picking up on like the character traits throughout the whole thing, especially the woman. She does a lot of things that are autistic, as far as like she'll like stim and tap with her fingers when she's anxious, and she takes everything completely literal. She doesn't like being touched softly. She has a hard time when there's a lot going on, and it was just like very evident from that she was autistic. And so then I looked it up later, and the author did confirm that yes, her and the lead male are autistic, which I thought was pretty cool to have that in this book. So it was great representation, and it wasn't it was done in a really nice way. It wasn't overbearing or like it wasn't stereotypical, really. It was just really good. So yeah, definitely recommend this, and I'm excited to start the other two books in the series at some point this spring. After that, I read Bingsu for Two. This one is by Sujin Witherspoon. The book is based in Seattle, and it's about these two Korean tea and coffee places. This gentleman, his family, I say gentleman, they're actually like 17. His family owns a chain of coffee shops and wants him to be the manager of one, but he isn't satisfied there, and for various reasons he goes and works at Bingsu for Two, where he meets this gal, and they hate each other at first, but he starts doing their social media accounts, and they have a lot of good chemistry, and so people liking that, people following their social media want them to get together, so then they start fake dating. But he has secrets about why he's at this coffee place that he doesn't want to share, but he also doesn't want to ruin anything, and he's feeling conflicted that he's betraying his family, but if he goes back, he's going to betray this new place. So it was really good. A little unrealistic to make 17-year-olds managers of an entire coffee shop, since they still are in school and probably never have time to work there. But other than that, it was super cute. I enjoyed all the characters, and yeah, it was really sweet. It is a YA book. I got it for my birthday when we went up to Portland from Grand Gesture Books. It was in one of those blind date with a book, so I didn't know what I was getting, but I'm really glad I picked it because it was super adorable. That was like the last book from my birthday trip TBR stack that I had. So after I finished that one, we went to the thrift store, and I think I found 6 books. I found these 4, plus I got 2 of the original Hunger Games books. I had those at one point, but I gave them away for some reason. But I wanted to reread them, and I want to read the prequels, so I rebought a set at the thrift store so that I can read those later. But then all of these I got along with those at the thrift store, and so I actually read all of them in February, which I was not expecting. The first one was The Wizard of Oz. I had never read this one before, and it is very different from the iconic movie. There were just a lot of things that happen in this book that never make it into that movie, and vice versa. It was really good. It was, I don't want to say I like it better or worse than the movie, just because they were so different. I feel like they're like two completely different stories. Same with The Dark Tower, going back to that one. I really like the movie that they made, and I really like the book series, but they're like two different tellings of that story, and they don't overlap at all. And it was kind of like this, kind of the way with this one, but super cute. I enjoyed it a lot, and it was like a very quick read. You could do it in a day. And then this was the next one that I read, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Hang. Um, I have heard of this one, but I didn't know what it was about, and it was really good. It was about this woman, I think she's in her 30s, that decides she no longer wants to live, and so she's contemplating ending her life, and she ends up in this library. It's like a space between the living and the dead, and it's always midnight there, and it's filled with books, and she can pick out any sort of variation of her life. It's kind of like a multiverse um, adventure where if you change just one thing in your life, it'll like completely change the rest of your life. And so she tries on, and she can try on all these different versions of her life until she either finds one that she loves and wants to stay in there, or she decides that she no longer wants to be on the earth, and then she would just pass away. But it was really interesting. Like, one of the things that happens to her before she comes to this decision, her cat dies. She finds it near the side of the road, so she assumes it got ran over, and she thinks she's such a bad cat mom and just berates herself. And so one of the first lives that she wants to jump into is one where she was like the absolute best mom to this cat. Like, she makes all the right decisions, is basically what she wants this life to be. And so she wakes up, and when she jumps back into like a new life, she's always that same age. Like, it's like midnight of, I think she's like 35, so she always jumps back into that moment of when she's 35. But yeah, so she jumps back into the life, and she wakes up and can't find her cat anywhere again. She looks all over the house, is like really upset by it, and then she finds it under her bed, and he has passed away, and so she like can't understand why, if she changed everything, why she finds him dead under her bed. And then so she goes back to the library, and the librarian there is explaining like that was always his destiny, to die young, because he had like a very rare heart condition that like he was never meant to live that long. And in both lives, her true first life and then the second one that she jumped in, that's like the longest he's ever lived. So in like other versions of her life, he died a lot sooner. So it just kind of went to show that you may think that you're doing a terrible job at something, but in actuality, you might be doing really well, or like average. You just don't know. So yeah, it was a really good book. I liked the way it ended. It's definitely a good read if you have a lot of regrets in your life, which I feel like I do a lot. I look back and wonder what could have been, and so this was a good book if you ever consider those things. And it definitely made me want to read more of his books, so I will be keeping an eye out for more of these in the future. And then after that, I read The Marlowe Murder Club by Robert Thorogood. This one was pretty entertaining. It's about this woman. I think she's in her 70s. She has inherited this really big house from her great aunt, and so she doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to. She has this great house, but she does write crossword puzzles, as her career, and she still does it. She writes like 2 or 3 a week for the magazines, and she loves it. And she's very recluse. She doesn't talk to anyone, but she overhears one of her neighbors being murdered. And so she like calls the police, but they don't believe her. And so she decides that she's going to investigate it herself. And while she's doing this, she's asking a lot of great questions. She ends up befriending 2 other ladies in the town that join the murder mystery club. Um, one of them is a dog walker, and one of them is the bishop's wife, who, like, besides being a caretaker and housewife, she doesn't have a lot going on, but they all get involved and become good friends and try and solve this murder. And then while they're solving the first murder, 2 other murders happen, and so they're trying to figure out how they're connected. And they have these um, they have some lead suspects in these murders, but they can't tie them to any of the evidence, or everyone's out of town when these murders occur. So it's trying to figure out what actually happened, and it took a little bit to get into, but it was really funny and I did enjoy it. And then the last book that I read for February was Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. This one is another one that's based out of Seattle. She and her husband moved to Seattle from Los Angeles. Her husband works for Microsoft and is like a big deal there, and she is a famous architect. But something happens in her past that she just wants to get away, and so when he gets offered this position at Microsoft, they move to Seattle, and they live in this really ridiculous house that used to be a boarding school for girls that's like completely falling apart. There's like plants growing out from under the floorboards, and there's leaks everywhere, and they have a 15-year-old daughter that she loves her parents. She wants to go to Antarctica before she goes to high school, and so her parents are going to go with her, but they have to go like that month in December before the summer in Antarctica ends. But the mom has severe anxiety about going places and being trapped places, agoraphobic, I think it's called. And the mother is like kind of extravagant, crazy. I don't want to say it's good or bad because it's very, like, some of the things she does, you're like, oh my God. But very entertaining. And then this whole book is told through little notes or emails, or like just brief conversations between not just like the daughter's point of view or the parents' point of view, but the crazy neighbors, people from the school, people at their work. And it's just like this very gossipy community thing going on. And so Bernadette, the mom, just like vanishes right before their trip to Antarctica, and everyone thinks she just like has disappeared or like has died, and no one knows what's going on. But the daughter is like determined to go find her, so then her and the dad set off to go find her, and it's just this crazy book that I was not expecting. I enjoyed it, but for a long time it was just like there's so much drama in it that I wasn't sure if I would be able to get through it, because I don't really like those kind of books. But it was good, and yeah, if you haven't read it, it's really funny. I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, so that's everything I read in February. I honestly don't know how I read that many, especially since I had 3 huge Stephen King books in that mix that are like almost 900 pages each. But yeah, I did enjoy it. I went back to the thrift store and got more books for March, and I have a ton on my TBR list that I got from the library. So March reading is going to be pretty busy. But I did just go I had a little book solo date in McMinnville, Oregon, last weekend, which I will be releasing that video in a few days. But I did go to a really cute bookstore and I got a couple really great reads that I'm excited about for March. So stick around because that was a really fun adventure. And yeah, I think March and April will be jam packed with books and really good reads. So stick around because we'll talk more books next month and we'll have a great time. But thank you for being here. I hope you are enjoying your day. The sun is shining here and it feels really good. I think I'm going to get a little workout in and then maybe go on a walk before it starts raining. So I will talk to you guys soon.